Hello and welcome. Welcome to Own Your Wellness. This is the podcast where we explore holistic approaches to healing to remind you that there are options because your health and healing often go beyond what standard medicine offers. And here we like to focus on alternatives that give you more ways to care for your health. So I'm Tami, and I'm super excited to be joined here today by Dr. Hesu Whitten. He's the creator of the Whitten Method. And if you've never heard of it, we will get right into it. This is a system of precise muscle testing used to uncover hidden stresses in the body, hidden stress patterns that may be interfering with our health or our healing journey. So in this conversation, we'll get to explore how our bodies communicate. I know that's a strange concept to many of you, but what can possibly be missed in standard approaches that we're all probably most familiar with, and also how to identify how this is identifying root causes that can create a significant shift in your health or your healing. And, whether you're navigating your own healing, which I am a strong advocate for being an advocate of your own health journey, or if you're a practitioner seeking maybe deeper clarity, this episode may offer some new perspectives for you. So I have been seeing Dr. Hesu Whitten for, I want to say it's probably close to 6 months now. And it's completely changed the way I think about what our bodies tell us and what our bodies are, what we are capable of doing for our bodies. So I'm just so thrilled to have you, Dr. Hesu. Here, do most people call you Hesu, Dr. Hesu, or Dr. Whitten?
Either Hesu or Dr. Whitten.
Oh, I'd say Dr. Hesu. Okay. I will get to Dr. Whitten since we are talking about the Whitten Method, but for somebody who is hearing about this Whitten Method for the first time, how would you describe this to somebody, what you're actually doing when you're assessing a patient?
I'm really allowing the patient's body and the intelligence that's in the body to communicate to me what's out of balance with that patient. So muscle testing becomes a way to listen to your body. So since the beginning of time, people have been trying to figure out how to know what's going on the inside. And the Chinese, for 5,000 years, they've been reading the pulses and feeling differences in, bounding pulses and thready pulses. And they have about 30 different distinctions in pulses. And people learned to read the tongue. The Chinese did that. And there's the iridology. And everyone's always trying to figure out how do we know what's going on the inside. And muscle testing is the way that I've learned how to do that very precisely.
I've heard your story. How long have you been practicing this?
I've been studying this since 1993.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we're on about 33 years.
We're over 30 years. So
Probably about 3 or 4 hours a day. So I've added it up. It's over 40,000 hours. So to give a brief overview of it, it's a little bit challenging, but I'll do my best.
it is. It's hard, and just in the sessions that I have been working with you and learning from you, really, I have a hard time explaining it to people as well. So I know this is going to be an overview. Can you just share, maybe to give somebody who's very new to this Whitten method, can you maybe share an example of what it looks like for somebody? Maybe, if somebody comes in and they're struggling with something, what is it that you're doing? What is it that you could possibly be revealing by talking to their body?
Yeah, well, let me just give you a few core concepts, because
Perfect.
if you get the core concepts, everything else kind of makes more sense. So the basic idea is that your brain, or your intelligence, your heart, your brain's not the only intelligence center. Your heart's an intelligence center. Your gut has its own intelligence. And we're learning more and more about just how vast that intelligence is, the microbiome and everything else. And so every other healing system is what I call doctor driven. So you come with a set of symptoms, and the doctor reaches into their vast body of knowledge and says, well, it sounds like you need this medicine or this herb or this vitamin, or you need chiropractic, or you need acupuncture in these points. And all the therapies that you receive have more to do with the practitioner and their training and their philosophy and everything that they've learned. So the treatment's driven by the practitioner and their perspective. And so what I've been looking to do is create a system where I, as the practitioner, simply ask your body what you need most. And so it could be at the structural level where we treat the muscles and the bones, and just work on the physical structures of the body. The top priority could be biochemical. It could be a food that you're missing, right? Some nutrients that you're missing, or a food that you're eating that you're allergic to, or some toxin that you've absorbed that we need to get rid of. So it could be a biochemical issue, or it could be a mental, emotional issue, spiritual issue. You could be with the wrong partner, or in the wrong job, or having conflict with people. And, there could be old traumas that you haven't released yet, and that's still kind of affecting your health and creating, chronic stress because you're still wound up about some old issue, right? So I have no idea where to start. And so the beauty of my technique is that I didn't invent muscle testing. Muscle testing is a way to get yes, no answers from your body. So I just ask your body, is your top priority structural, chemical, or energetic? And within each of those options, there's a whole flow chart that takes me to exactly the therapy that your body wants and where it wants it. And what I've discovered is that that's very teachable. So I'm going to be teaching a course on this work. I can do it in 2 weekends. So I've taken a huge amount of work and made it teachable in basically 4 days. It takes some practice to get good at it. That's kind of the overview. So the basic idea is your brain knows what it needs, and I'm looking to hack into the supercomputer of you to tell me what you want most, what's your highest priority. And I'm just there to deliver what your system asks for.
This was the best explanation that I've heard so far.
Cool.
I'm thinking what the listeners might, just to give them a little bit of a visual,
Yep.
because when you say I ask the body,
Right.
how are you asking the body? Can you just give a visual of what that looks
Oh,
like?
great point. So I'll just have the person hold their arm up and hold strong. And so I'll say, is your top priority structural? And the muscle will give out and go weak if it's a no. And if the top priority is structural, it'll hold strong. And I just have to push with, a couple pounds of force. So
Perfect.
what was discovered is that when you make a statement that your brain agrees with, your brain will send electricity to the muscle, and the muscle will hold strong. If I say something that your brain doesn't agree with, it disrupts the electric flow to the muscle, and the muscle goes out just like a light.
I
So
love that. That's the foundation of muscle testing, really. You did not
yeah,
invent that. I love how you gave that, clarification that you did not invent muscle testing, but what you just described of using the arm is the basis of muscle testing. Is that accurate? Okay.
yeah, there's many different muscle testing techniques. It started with applied kinesiology, and they would test many different muscles, and each muscle they associated with a different meridian. So it was actually combining Eastern and Western techniques. So like if uh, if the pectoralis major muscle, where you would push it that way, testing the pectoralis major clavicular division, that was associated with the stomach meridian. And so there was a different muscle that you would test to see which meridians were blocked. And It was an elaborate system, very complex. But but the system I use is just using any old muscle to just get yes, no answers. So there's many different ways that people do it.
Perfect. Perfect. Now I want to ask this question because I've had a little experience with it as well. But for the person who might struggle with the idea of pressing on an arm and it revealing this meaningful information, or maybe somebody who's just skeptical, they trust blood work, they trust scans, this objective data, they see muscle testing as maybe subjective or just really hard to really grasp and accept. What could you say to them to help them understand this before they dismiss it? Is there any other little bonus nugget that you can give them to help grasp this concept?
Well, muscle testing is a very ordinary phenomenon. It's not mystical. It's not just for special people. When you when you flex your bicep, see your bicep does this and your tricep does that. So they have opposing functions. So when you flex your bicep, your tricep has to turn off. Otherwise, your muscles will be fighting each other and you won't be able to move at all. So muscles and nerves are turning on and turning off. Like if somebody does this, like a pianist or a guitarist, the nerves and muscles have to turn on to do this, and this one turns off, and then this one turns on, and this turns off, you know, hundreds of times a second, right? So nerves and muscles turn on and turn off. So what we're using is that normal physiological process to make statements to see if the intelligence of the body agrees or disagrees. Now you ask a very profound question. How do we get to where we actually believe these readings? Couple answers to that. Our whole educational system has taught us not to trust our own intuition, to trust experts, to trust books, to trust people that know more than us, people on TV, people who've written articles, and to whatever you do, don't trust yourself. And, if you look at our culture, we're not particularly healthy, right? I mean, we're not as healthy as when I was a kid.
Right.
Society is less healthy, and we have all this technology that we didn't have. Like I remember when the microwave was invented, right?
Uh-huh.
So we have all this technology, and are we healthier? Are we happier? Well, we definitely have more conveniences,
Mhm.
right? We can get more stuff, but we're not necessarily healthier or happier. And I don't think the solution is to increase technology even more. The solution is to learn how to tune into what our bodies are communicating. We're each unique individuals. I got a doctorate, but I didn't get my doctorate in you. You have a PhD in you. So your brain knows everything about you. And so the potential of healing, if we can tap into that library of data, is huge. It's immense. But you point out the most difficult challenge, which is uh, getting clarity in the answers and having it be reliable and not just subjective. And so there's challenges to the system. The potential is limitless. If technology had gotten us to incredible health, then we'd be like, let's just leave it to technology.
Mhm.
But
Right. Good
it
point.
it really hasn't done that great for us.
Right.
We're obese, we're diabetic, we have heart disease. 50% of people are going to get cancer, at least men, 40% in women, they
Mhm.
say. So we're totally out of balance. We're on all these antidepressants. We're out of balance in so many different ways, physically, emotionally. And so I've been looking to a system that teaches me how to listen to my body, and so that I can be in harmony every hour of the day to tune into what my body wants to eat, how it wants to exercise, how much it wants to work. I'll muscle test how many patients I should be seeing a day. because too many will be, it'll
Excellent.
wear out my system,
Yeah.
right? So,
I
uh,
love that. You actually flowed right into the next thought that I was having is, um, one thing that really surprised me coming to you is how you can help me or you can help your patients, but it's something completely different to be able to teach us, the patients, the people, the people who are struggling with health, the people who are curious how they can get better, the people struggling with the medical system, maybe not helping them or just masking symptoms. And so, how can someone begin using this approach in their own daily lives to help support their health? I know you did briefly mention you're using this on you yourself to know what kind of things you should eat, how many clients you should even see. I mean, that's pretty significant. And I think it taps into the whole concept of, trusting our intuition, because this podcast is really about pointing out true examples out there so people can relate to it or grasp onto something that gives them a little glimmer of hope that yes, there is an alternative. And so before we go into there, I got sucked into that rabbit hole. I would love for you to give a few examples of maybe some things that you have found, obviously keeping your patients' confidentiality, but examples of things that you have found that has reversed their health challenges that they were not able to find elsewhere. Is there anything that stands out? Maybe something, something to do with autoimmune disease, which is, a huge issue.
sure.
And
Yeah,
people are given tons of prescriptions for that. They're given this idea that if they just eliminate foods, then that's the answer. Is there any examples that you have that could maybe
sure.
highlight something there?
Yeah, well, when you learn how to muscle test, there's different ways to do it. You get a yes and a no, and then your own body can become your teacher. So the systems that I've developed, a lot of it's come from me just asking my body the way things get blocked and how we can clear it. And so I've just asked those questions for years and years. So there was 3 years I got to work with the world champion, the best surfer in the world. He had been world champion 8 times, and he was starting when he was 19. And he was, if you ask any surfer who the greatest surfer of all times is, they would say this guy. And he came to me when he was 35 and said, I don't know if I can win anymore. I only got third last year in the world, and these kids are coming up and they're doing things that I can't do.
Mhm.
And at my age. And so I said, well, that sounds like a mental emotional block.
Mhm.
You have all this experience. They might be doing, acrobatic stuff, but your experience, uh, over an entire season, I think you could win again. So I started working with him very closely and clearing out, well, doing some chiropractic work and
Mhm.
working on his body, but also just removing his own self-doubt that had creeped in at this point. And the 3 years I worked with him, he won his ninth, 10th, and 11th world title. And
Oh,
his last one, he was 39 years old. And
wow.
he's considered one of the greatest athletes of all time, not just surfers, right?
Yes.
So that was great. That was very affirming because every time I worked on him, he won the next contest.
That
And
is
it was
incredible.
and he was so grateful he started paying me 10% of his winnings.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. And so and I would give some of that money back to his nonprofit to heal the ocean and all these things to protect
Oh, I
coral
love
reefs and things
that.
like. So that was
Mhm.
cool. My wife has MS,
Mhm.
and at the time she got it, she was working 2 jobs, 50 hours a week, and going to school for full time. and her system just broke down. And and I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen full-blown MS attack. And so she went to the hospital and they wanted to put her on all these medications and we decided not to. And so I just learned everything I could about autoimmune diseases. And it's been 7 years now. And so we work with her, every week to fine tune her diet, clear out any stress, optimize her exercise program. And she's never had to be on medicine. She's gone 2 years without symptoms at times. And her symptoms are pretty minimal. We just went hiking today, you know,
Oh,
and she's doing great. So tons of great, I could go on and on and on with examples, but
no, I love that. Just to give the full scope. So you are a chiropractor. I think I failed to mention that. So when somebody comes to see you and you're finding there's either two things, it's either a deficiency or a toxicity. Is that correct? So
yeah,
so you may be able to also help decipher what type of supplements are missing from somebody
for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, I mean, supplements are supplemental to diet. So our diet's primary. And so everything comes down to not enough of the good stuff or too much of the bad stuff. So you know, if you're not happy enough, they call that depression. If you're too happy, they call that manic. So, you want to be right in the middle with
You need the
everything,
right
right?
balance.
You can have too much water, right? You can die of too much water. So, yeah, so everything comes down to uh, either, in Chinese, they would say you're too yin if
Oh yeah.
or too yang, right? You're too aggressive or too passive. Uh, and so you can see all different aspects of health from this same perspective of
Mhm.
too much or not enough, right? Too much strength, they would call that tension, right?
Yes, yes.
And then not enough strength, that would be, flaccid or weakness. And so,
So after watching you in practice, I'm just blown away by the vast amount of knowledge that our body is able to convey, really. And you have the Whitten method as a system that kind of organize it in a way that you can receive the information and direct maybe a protocol, a suggestion, something that's going to help. So now the part that I'm eager to talk about is how you have been able to teach this to people so that they can use it. I know personally, I am learning how to use it daily in my daily life. And I'm starting, it's super basic, it's super simple. Something like this could be so overwhelming for somebody thinking, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it. And so you've given a really good, introduction on how to practice it on ourselves. I'm not going to sit here and use my arms, so I'm able to use a system of muscle testing by applying pressure to my fingers. And I'm not going to go into the detail of that, but just before we close out and wrap up, I would just love for you to share with our listeners maybe where they can learn more about your work if they want to further explore something to learn more.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I studied was so complex. I had a mentor, and it took me 3 years to really master that work. And I was asking him, how many of us in the world like know this work really deeply? And he said, "Oh, there's probably about eight or 10 of us." I'm like, "There's like 8 million, 8 billion people in the world. That's too complicated." So a lot of what I've done is try to get rid of all the unnecessary complexity
Mm,
and make it teachable so it doesn't take 3 years. You can learn everything in 2 weekends.
mm-hmm,
And then you just got to practice it, but you basically got the system, and now you just have, somebody can show you how to do the strokes, but then you got to get on the court and practice it, like you say, every day. So
mm-hmm.
at the last 2 weekends of February, we're going to be teaching at Emma's Herbs in Ventura, which is it's a great health hub in the community. It's been there for since the 90s.
Oh.
Yeah, over 30 years I've known that family. So yeah, so I'll be teaching there. You can reach out to me, whittenmethod.com is my website. But yeah, I mean, I've tried to make it very simple. So all I need to know is what's your highest priority? Is it structural, chemical, or energetic? And where on the body? So, like, let's say it's structural and your body wants soft tissue work. It could be massage, fascia, trigger point work. And then we just have to know where to do that. And so, the first thing we need to know is just how to get a yes and how to get no. Once
Mm-hmm.
you get a clear yes and no, then you can talk to the body, and then it becomes easy. But the first thing we have to heal is our own lack of trust
Mm-hmm.
in our own system. That's the biggest hurdle. So once we get past that hurdle, then we're off and running. Then 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 we can apply it in 1,000 different ways. We can apply it to our health, our relationships, our diet. It's the missing link to everything because we're getting all this information about vitamins and herbs and different kind of, exercise programs. But we take in all this information and people are so confused.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a solution to that confusion. We can just say, is this what my body wants? Yes. Okay. How much of this does my body want? Like if it says, okay, let's go swimming or let's go running. Okay, should I do more than a mile, more than a mile and a half, more than 2 miles? Oh, my body says 2 miles. Okay. So I'll give my body just what it wants and not too much and not, you know, less than it wants. And so we
Yes.
can, it's kind of like the Goldilocks thing, what's just right.
Right.
So
Well,
when
I
I was,
love this.
yeah,
I love that it just it helps give people the power. It helps
yeah.
people give their power back. And um, no, are we going to learn the Whitten method in all its vast uses, overnight? No. But I can tell you, I have found great help and it feels very reassuring. I feel empowered, really. I don't know how else to describe. I feel very empowered to be able to tune in to this communication with myself. And really that it was such a huge driver for why I even started this podcast is to be able to share with people that they have options for themselves and we need to advocate. There are so many other things out there, and I am just so supportive of you teaching it to other people, and I'll continue to refer people to you who I know need a little help along their health journey. So I just want to thank you so much. Is there any last words that you would like to say before we close out?
Well, I love your your title, Own Your Wellness, was it?
Own your wellness.
Yeah,
Yes.
that means taking responsibility for your own health, which is the entire point of my work is to help people. I teach non-doctors, non-practitioners, stay-at-home moms, just people, teenagers. I would love to teach this to children so they'd have these tools for their whole lives and they
Yes.
can stay connected. We saw during the pandemic, people were so in fear and we're placing all our trust on, the government and Anthony Fauci and all these people to tell us, save our lives, save our lives. And if we
Yes.
just knew how to trust ourselves and say, hey, what do I need for my health? we could stay we could stay calm, we'd stay relaxed, we'd stay in our own truth, basically,
That's
and not
such
in
a good
fear.
point. As a
Yeah.
mom, I love how you brought in as we can use this on our kids. I wish I
Yep.
knew it when my kids were little, when they didn't have a voice, they weren't talking yet, and they had a rash.
Mhm.
This is something we could have used at that time. So
Yep.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to put your contact information in the notes on YouTube. Right now, I'm on YouTube. And my takeaway from this conversation is that your body communicates in ways that you don't even know are possible. So you're probably overlooking them. And there are ways that we can listen, respond, and really support your wellness. So You have more options than you have been taught. Okay. There are more things out there. So I hope this podcast encourages you as the listener to go explore what your body is capable of and to own your wellness, like you said, to take responsibility for your wellness. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time
You
and
too.
your work out there to help with this mission that we have to help people. Thank you.
You're a star, Tami.
Thanks so much. I'll see
All
you
right, take care.
soon.
Bye.